Alright, here we are, doing a little bit more sanding. We're down to I think I got a 1200 here that I'm working with. I really don't remember now, but anyway, there's just about nothing there. It's just enough to keep it smooth. I just remember some of the old days when I used to work at Winchesters years ago. One of my first jobs was at Winchesters when they were in New Haven, Connecticut on Winchester Avenue. I remember going there and filling out an application, and the test back then to get in was putting nuts and bolts together to see how fast it took you to figure out what nut would fit what bolt as far as thread, and how long it would take you to, naturally to separate them and screw the nuts onto the bolts with washers. And that was the test. But anyway, they hired me on, and like I said, it was one of my first jobs, and naturally, you always start at the bottom. And I was coming home filthy every night. And then I was lucky enough to get put into the research and development. And I started working in the chemistry area on certain products and things. And I became a good friend with a chemist there, and started learning a little bit about that. And, naturally that took me a little further. And this all happened within like a year and a half. I mean, it was relatively quick. But back then it was one of those things to where, if they seen you trying, they just go right ahead and put you right there. It's not like it is today. I feel bad for the people out there today trying to catch a break and get started. It's totally different. But anyway, that was that. And then from there, Marlin's got a hold of me through a family member that used to work there. And at the time, they were also in New Haven on Willow Street. So they had asked me if I wanted to come to work for them in their research and development. They would give me a little bit more money, with benefits. And back then, that was it was a lot different back then when they say with benefits, but yet it gave you some type of medical coverage. So I decided, I can handle this, So I had an uncle working there and things, so it kind of helped out. So I jumped in on that with Marlin's, and then we moved to North Haven. They built a new building in North Haven, and we moved out there. Now, Marlin's was a good place, as Winchesters back then, to work for. Marlin's used to let us, in the research and development, if we wanted to come in after hours. Now, they were open, 24/7. However, your shift is over, you go home. But if you wanted to come in when your shift is over, on your time, and work on a project that was going to benefit the company, they let you. They'd give you a carte blanche, because naturally you're trying to help the company. And in return, if you were to come up with an idea that they'd plan on marketing, what they would do is they would give you a very small cut of the profits on that, which was nice. They didn't have to do that, but they did. So back then, I came up with, like I say, being in, with the chemist and working in research and development, and being privy to a lot of things that weren't on the market yet. And if they were just so expensive that nobody wanted to deal with it. Like your silicones, your Teflons, and your synthetics. I mean, that was all in the makings back then. It's just it was very far and few, and it was very expensive to even work with it. But anyway, the old arithmetic paper, when you were in school, it was what, maybe a 5x8 piece, that kind of a creamish color paper. They pass it out for arithmetic, and everybody take a couple extra sheets and take it home. And well, I'm sitting there one afternoon on a Saturday, and I came up with a lube, and I wrote it all out, you know, all the details and everything that had to be involved in the mixing and the time and the setup and you know, 1 part this, 10 part that, half part this, and I submitted it to them, and they thought it was a great idea. They'd even tested it. However, by the time they were done with it, back then, now we're talking 71 maybe, yeah, I think, because I was with Marlin Winchesters, 69, mid 69, I left there mid to late 70s, so yeah, 70, 71. You know, things were a lot more expensive. So anyway, after they've researched it and they not marketed it, but they've tested it and things like that around the shop, and you know, handed out some samplers and things, they realized that it was going to cost them way too much with the products that were involved, because of them being new and not really out there yet, not even heard of basically. It was going to cost too much. So at that point, I'm sorry, I had to walk away from the camera for a minute. At that point, they kind of said, well, you know, good idea, we're sorry, if we stick with it, and maybe in the future we can use it, or, you know, forget about it. And, well, not a big deal. So I just folded up that piece of paper, and I put it in my pocket, and I took it home, and I put it in the files. And that's where it's set. And I actually forgot all about it, because then I had gotten married, and I started getting more and more involved in firearms and training with the police departments, because I started originally with our police department. I had kind of an in, so at the range, and then after a year or so of being there at the range, as basically a gopher, you know, and clean the range and take care of it and things like that. It was for a couple of police departments. They tested me and made me an instructor, as well as a range safety officer for the police department. So that worked out well. But like I say, I really got, you know, tied up in other things, and then I met up with this old timer one day at the range. He came in, and he's got this stuff in a small eyedropper bottle that he's using to lube his guns. And me being young and nosy, I said, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm oiling my guns. What are you using there? And he tells me that he was using an STP type of mix with a non-detergent oil. And he said it was like 1 part STP or Slick 50, whatever it was back then. I forgot, to be honest with you. I used it for the longest time, but I forgot what it was I was mixing. Well, actually, it started out with STP. Then it went into the Slick 50 stuff. But and 3 parts of 30 weight non-detergent oil, motor oil. And he said you can always add a little extra oil, make it 4-part oil, 1 part STP, and stuff like that. He says he's been doing it for a long time, since STP hit the market, and you know, and all this bullshit. So I kind of listened to him, and I started using it for the longest time. I think I've even done a video on it, or not a video on it, but when I was doing one of my videos, I was using it, and I explained it. Well, after buying this house and moving in, and finally decided to start cleaning the garage up last year, and going through a lot of boxes that I haven't gone through in years, and I'm talking years, because you got to remember, you know, our last house that we had, we built it in '92, we sold it in '99 and moved on the boat, and we were on the boat for a number of years, so a lot of things have been in storage and in boxes. And like I said earlier, the wife and I think this is the 4th house or 5th house that we've bought since we've been together. Because, you know, I buy, and if there's a market for it, I sell it. If I get tired of it, we sell it. You know, I'll buy something different. But at that point, started going through the boxes, and lo and behold, I see that little piece of that little piece of math paper, that arithmetic paper, that was all folded up and yellowed around the edges and kind of crinkled and ripped on the seams. And I opened it up, carefully to figure out what the hell is this that I kept for this long. And there it was, the formula. So I started to research the products to see if they were still available, the chemicals needed, and what they were as far as prices today. And because the prices today, because it's known, your synthetics, your Teflons, and your silicones and stuff like that are well known now. It's like anything else. The prices dropped. It's like, cell phones. At first, they were $1,000. Now you can get them for $100. So when I found that out, I decided to buy a few gallons of some of the product that I needed, and I put it back out, and this is what I came up with. And I'm telling you, now I sent it out to a few of the guys just to have a couple of my subs. They stuck with me through my crappy videos, and instead of doing these raffles and and all these things here, I just took the 100 subs that I had and threw their names in a hat and stuffed them up and pulled out 4 or 5 of them, and I've shipped them all, the 4 or 5 of them that I pulled out of the hat, a couple of these each, which is, I call it slide slick. Now it works on anything on the gun, and it works out well. And like I say, because of the prices nowadays are cheap enough, I've actually given it to some of the samplers to the stores around here, and they started ordering it now and actually paying for it instead of me leaving it there on consignment. So it's starting to work. So I sent some of it out to some of the guys, like I said, to try, just to see what they think of it and such, because different seasons and different climates and different usages, everybody uses their guns differently. So what may work good for one may not work for the other. In my day, up until a few years ago, when I was having the surgery and the heart attacks, I was at the range 5 days a week. I'd very easily go through 5,000 rounds of ammo in a week. Because what am I doing? I'm there and I'm training. So you got to show. You got to shoot along with your students. You got to keep them active. You got to keep them happy. You got to keep them informed and inquisitive. You got to keep their attention span going. So, you shoot along with them, which is also good for me because it kept my skills up. I know a lot of instructors that don't do a lot of shooting when they're teaching, and and their skills are actually diminished a little. And as a rule, if I'm doing a class of first timers, newbies, to get their basic permit and basic safety, I don't do a lot of shooting then, to be honest with you, because I don't want that to become a competition. I don't want anything to become of it other than I want them to concentrate on safety, and what they're doing, not so much as to what I'm doing. So I don't do that much shooting when I'm doing the basic stuff. Alright guys, we're getting there. I'm going to shut this down because I've wasted some time. And we'll take it from there. It's getting there. It's getting there.